Ready? All right. First day in the new podcast. Shout out to Timo. Got the old black turf on the walls. Little Bobby Boucher, Triple F. And I'm excited that the first guest in this room is Mr. Josh Jones. I think we might call this the real side of Josh Jones, or the most misunderstood man in Knoxville. But we've been friends for years now, and I don't think there's anybody in this town that I get asked more questions about than Josh Jones. So I definitely don't want to go down any negative, Bearden, anything like that. I know you are proud of your time there and had a lot of great memories there, and some of them I was involved with. So I want this to be all positive and give you an opportunity to just tell your story, man, and all the things I know about you that make me love you and has built our friendship over the years. So I'll push it over to you. Did you grow up in Knoxville? What's your story? Why do you love football? Tell us a little bit about Josh Jones, and then I'll ask a few questions.
All right. First off, thanks for having me, Lee. Appreciate your friendship and all that. Thanks for having me on and good stuff. Pretty boring, man. I'm Knoxville. As I tell you, I'm Knoxville, Tennessee my whole life. Hillbilly through and through, I like to joke. I don't want to go through childhood or anything. I obviously was here, grew up playing sports. I was an '80s baby. In terms of my grow up. So back then everybody played basketball, football, baseball, and there got to be a point where I was like, you know what, I'm probably not much on the, I was small, and wasn't the fastest, so rough combinations on the football field, but my dad's a longtime youth football coach. He actually started coaching before I was born. Coached almost 50 years of youth football before he hung it up 2 years ago. I was 18 years old, just graduated high school. I wanted to be the next Mike Krzyzewski basketball coach. I loved basketball. It was probably more my passion. Loved football in terms of like watching it, Vol fan, all those things. But basketball was probably my passion from a sports perspective. Is what I was best at, and wasn't great at it, but that's what I was best at. So 18 years old. Later in the fall, going to coach a little, I think it was 9-year-old basketball team. I already got it worked out, all those things. My dad tells me in the summer I need some of my assistants ain't coming back this year. I need you to help. And I'm like, well, I don't want to do it. And he goes, well, no choice. You live with me, so you're going to coach football this year. And so there I was, and I wasn't much of a coach. I didn't even know what I was doing. Just learning from him, and it was awesome. I mean, I started at 18, and here I am. Old man at 47 and still doing it.
30 years, bro. It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, 21 years of youth, and just finished my 8th season of high school. Never wanted to coach high school. Obviously, I would have went way sooner. Had many opportunities along the way, but that's pretty much it.
That's awesome. No offense to all the basketball people watching, but football is the greatest game ever created.
I agree.
And the greatest band of brothers and culture and suffering and physical pain and, the warrior sport with rugby and a couple others. So I'm glad your dad did that to you.
Yes.
We wouldn't be sitting there having this conversation, especially not in this way, if he would have not drug you on a football field. So that's right. Awesome. So once you made the decision to take the leap to the high school level, was that the CAK year? Or
yes, sir.
Was it? So how did that all happen?
So I was the 8th grade coach at Fulton for 15 years, 2003 to 2017. Had a great run.
No, let's just go backwards. Let's be negative a little bit.
Yeah.
So the way middle school football has changed around here, it's the MAC or what is the difference? And I'm kidding about going negative, but just I know there's a lot of viewers, especially people that are new to town, because so many people are moving to Knoxville. Yep. Like, what does 8th grade football mean? Is it Fulton middle school football with only Fulton kids? Because I know back in the day, a lot of guys would be transplants and play other places. So what's the setup when you started, and how much has it changed?
Yeah, so it's way different now. The 15 years I was at Fulton as the 8th grade coach, it was pretty much like Parks and Rec. We were a mix of 7th and 8th graders, mostly 8th graders. You didn't have to live in a certain zone to play there. You just had to be in middle school. You just couldn't be in high school. So we would have, probably like a nucleus of our team, from the Fulton community. But we were pretty much at that time, it was rare. We were an all non-dad staff. which was very rare back then. So we would get a lot of kids come play for us because they were tired of daddy ball or whatever. And we were kind of doing it, for the right reasons. None of us were getting paid or anything like that. We just loved pouring into kids and impacting kids' lives and all those things. So we would have kids from Farragut come play for us, kids from Carter come play for us, and everywhere in between. So about the time I was wrapping up, the MAC started being some talk, and so forth. People joke with me and say, you were the reason the MAC started, because what we were doing in middle school, we wasn't trying to recruit all kinds of kids and win a Knox County championship. That's not what it was about. We were about developing kids for high school. I got my pride not in winning at John Tarleton. That's not very hard to do. I got my pride when they would go start as freshmen or they would go play varsity as freshmen and they were ready to play. They knew ball. We actually taught them ball. It wasn't just, line up and run plays and hit people. So I love that. But it obviously changed now. But during my 15 years, it was pretty, you had different rules here, and they put rules in for us here and there because we were winning. And for us, it never was about winning. It was just about developing kids. Like everything we did for all those 15 years was never about what can we do to win a championship. We never even talked about it. It was always about what can we do to better develop these young men to get them ready for high school football.
Well, once again, welcome Josh Jones, the most misunderstood man in Knoxville. You dedicated 15 years of your life to coaching youth sports, making $0. Mm-hmm. That sounds like a pretty unselfish guy to me.
Yep.
And then I've never met a kid, and I don't want to go down, the personal rabbit hole of the kids you coach, but especially a lot of kids without fathers, that moms don't run up and give you a hug when they see you.
Yep.
And unlike anything I've ever seen, really, I tell people all the time, I've never seen someone with the trust of these kids' mamas like Josh Jones has.
Yep.
And that comes from investment and time and love and car rides and buying them lunches at the closest place to the Fulton's practice field and, all those things. So that's cool, man. And then now I guess because Brock played MAC until we moved to Blount County and Maryville, and are they still on they're not the MAC. It's probably something else out there.
They play their own little conference.
Their own deal.
Yeah.
Similar to the MAC, I'm sure. It
right.
seems like all the kids are Maryville kids.
Yeah, for sure.
So essentially now you get like one or two like out of school zone kids per team. Is that the way it's structured now?
Yeah, it's something like every year it changes from the number, but it's somewhere around 2 or 3 kids per grade level can be a non-zoned kid or whatever for the MAC or something like that.
And that was the Josh Jones is beating everybody. So, the side of it that I understand is like, let's keep these kids playing with each other so they can be playing with the kids they go to high school with. And there's some good sides to it, obviously.
Absolutely. Yep.
But I'll say the same thing on that as I do a lot of these high school programs. And, I'm not going to name names, but there's certain coaches in this town that come down here a lot. And there's an open door policy here for coaches.
Yep.
You just brought us, I don't know if you're allowed to say there's a college coach here.
Yeah.
I don't want to get him in trouble. We won't say his name.
He's allowed to be on the road.
Right. So he's on the road. So he comes by and wants to learn from John Feliciano downstairs, who played 10 years in the league. Like, we have an open door policy for coaches. And we want to pour into this community. And very few come down here.
Yep.
So my thing is, instead of crying about everyone else, how about you just build a program that all the kids want to come to?
Yeah.
And that's something that is missed. And obviously when you start talking about kids potentially getting paid and things get like that, like there's a lot of things that go on in every level of sports in the world. There's 6th graders getting paid to be on a 6th grade football team in America, I promise you.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be any different in 8th grade, high school, college. It's always been that way. But you build a program that people want to be a part of, and they will come. And that's something you did for a long time, man. I love it. So then, boom, why would you go to CAK when you had it made as the middle school mastermind?
Yeah, so it was funny. Every offseason, I would get opportunities. Hey, man, come join my staff. Talking about high school coaches. Hey, come join my staff. And, most of the time I wouldn't even – I'd shoot it down. I feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be. I feel like I'm making a difference in kids' lives. Thank you. Flattered. Thanks, but no thanks. But that year, 2017, was a little different. Parker, my son, who had just enrolled. It was his first year at CAK. We had just enrolled him that year. They'd had a tough season at football. It was their first year in Division II. and they'd had a tough year. They were used to winning in public school 3A. They went to Division II and kind of had a rough year, kind of got their teeth kicked in a little bit. So they make some coaching changes, not the head coach, but they make I think they let the OC go, got some opportunities there on the offensive side of the ball, and somehow some guys in the program got wind. The head coach was from Georgia. He didn't know me from Adam. They got wind that Josh Jones's son is in middle school here. Let's reach out to him, see if he wants to. We can get him down here to coach with us. So a friend that they call a friend of mine, a mutual friend of mine, calls me up. And he's like, "Hey man, what are you doing next Wednesday?" And some guys from CAK want to take you to lunch and just talk. I said, "Yeah, it's off season. I ain't doing nothing. I love to eat, and I don't mind talking." So I'm literally thinking in my mind, I'm going to a lunch meeting to talk about middle school programming and how to help it kind of funnel into your high school, because I would get that every offseason from area high school coaches. What are y'all doing? Fulton, during those 15 years, played for 8 state championships. During the 15 years I was there, they won 6 of them. So we had a pretty good little pipeline deal going. And
hard to argue with that stat.
Yeah, so every year, all coaches would call from the area, man, hey, what are y'all doing at the middle school, man? It seems like y'all work hand in hand. You got kids, going up, and it's an awesome deal. And so I literally thought I was going down to meet with some CAK people to eat a free lunch and to talk about how to maybe better help their middle school. So we get there, and it's 3 gentlemen, and the head coach is there. But he's not doing any of the talking. It's kind of a funny deal. Mazingo ended up being awesome. But they're kind of the people that was there.
Call the shots, I'm sure.
They call the shot. Yeah. They don't work at the school, but they call the shots, if you know what I mean.
Yes, I do.
And they're doing all the talking. And they're like, well, you're here today because they first off asked, why we're here? I'm like, no clue. They said, well, we need an offensive coordinator. I'm like, huh? They're like, yeah, we need an offensive coordinator to high school. Would you be interested? And I said, well, I guess we can talk. Kind of just caught me off guard. And then I'll never forget, the guy looks at Coach Mazingo and says, all right, y'all two get together. That's really how it started. So we chatted a little bit that day. Then a few days later, me and him alone, he scheduled time for me to come down and just meet with him one-on-one and stuff. And that's where the ball got rolling. And I was interested, but I loved my 15 years at Fulton. Yeah. Like I was a company man. I saw everything through maroon-colored tinted glasses. I thought those guys were great people. They were good to me. We had it rocking and rolling. My son's in my ear saying, you ought to do it, Dad. You ought to do it, Dad. You ought to do it, Dad. And I'm like losing sleep at night over the decision. Like I can't. For me, it's like kind of yes, kind of no. I'm literally, it's nuts. I've never had a decision made like this in my lifetime. You would think it wouldn't. Going coaching youth football for free, or at least going and making a few dollars and coaching high school football, and you'd think the answer would be yes, when do I start, right? But for me, because I loved what I was doing, I feel like I was a part of the community over there. For 2 weeks straight, I couldn't sleep. I would wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning. My wife's an incredibly light sleeper, and she'd be like, what in the world are you doing tossing and turning at 3 in the morning for? And so I was on her nerves. And then all of a sudden, 2 weeks, it was 2 weeks, all of a sudden I wake up one day and I got my answer. And I could not come to a yes or a no for 2 straight weeks. Just couldn't do it. And then I woke up one day and it was crazy how the Lord just gave me the answer.
It's a God thing.
It was literally like, it's the most crazy thing I've ever been part of in my life. And I felt like the weight of the world was off my back, and I called Coach Black. Told him, I was a very, very, very hard phone call to make. He was the head coach at Fulton at the time. I was kind of put his number on my phone. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. It was tough. Yeah. But, called Coach Mazingo. He was happy, with my decision. And so went there. They were in some transition too, there. I think they were transitioning administration, things like that. And, CAK is a great place. It's a great school. I just felt like that particular year, once I got there, I didn't ask any questions, dumb on my part, inexperience, right? Wasn't real sure, once I got there, wasn't real sure how much they wanted to win, not Mazingo. Mazingo was awesome. He was all about it, obviously. Any football coach wants to win, right? So wasn't real sure they were really wanting to win. So I kind of get there and I'm like, crap, what have I got myself into? So, but I'm glad I did it. Don't regret it one bit. And Matt Lowe, who we both know, I Matt's my dog, and I'd probably turn Matt down 5 times.
Matt is not misunderstood. All the reasons people don't like him are the truth. He is an acquired taste, but he's my guy. I love Coach Lowe. That's my buddy. I've been with him for 20 years, but he is Matt Lowe, and he's not going to apologize to anybody for it.
That's right.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Right. So Matt calls me. He goes, "Dang it, Jones, you're in high school now. You can't tell me no anymore." And I'm like, "When the season's over, we'll chat." Yeah. So, and that's go to PAL and have a good run. And
how many years were you at PAL?
I was there 3 years. Yep.
The state championship was the last year?
Last year, yes, sir. Yep.
With all those boys. That's awesome, man. Yeah, and I was with you, and we won't talk specifics. It's number one, it's nobody's business. It's your life. But I've been with you in the moment of I have an opportunity to make more money. Mm-hmm. But I promised these kids something.
Yep.
And I'm sure that's the same way it's different in high school because you give kids a 4-year promise.
Right.
Whereas in the middle school, I'm sure you've got a new crew of kids for the most part every year.
I can pretty much coach 15 different teams in middle school, 15 years. Yeah.
So, but you still just the community aspect and knowing I think it's safe to say Fulton football at every level hadn't been the same since. Yeah. And I think you knew that would probably happen. And that's a hard deal. So, especially from somebody with a big heart.
Yeah.
So, but here we are. So then, boom, Bearden, which is where we met.
Yep.
Obviously, turned things around there, wins and losses. Talk about that experience a little bit of being the boss for the first time.
Yeah, you think you're been around ball my whole life. I started reading the sports paper at 8 years old. We didn't have internet back when that's how old I am, so, but literally I was, at 8 years old, first thing I'd do when I'd wake up was go look at the sports page and read it. There probably wasn't many other 8-year-olds doing that. Right. So I was just always different. So I've always watched programming coaches from afar, and up close in the ones I worked in. Took some things from all of them. And I've been a big clinic guy for 20 plus years learning. I'm self-taught, so everything I've learned I've had to learn on my own. I didn't get to learn anything from a playing career or anything like that because I didn't play past youth football. And so self-taught, all those things. So getting to be to lead the program, you think you know everything, you think you're ready, all that, and then you start getting in there, you're like, holy cow. All I did was move one seat over from offensive coordinator to head coach, and it's like I've moved into a different universe. Just so many things that you think you're ready for that you're just not sure of. Miss Sayers, principal at Bearden, Donald Balcom was the AD at the time that hired me. They were phenomenal to me. Not many guys, like at heart, I'm a youth football coach still to this day. And not many guys are going to, go from coaching youth football to leading a high school program in just a few years, especially one that ain't, maybe a guy maybe put in the NFL might get that deal, right. But not a guy that's got no football experience, playing experience. But so they took a chance on me. When you get to Bearden, everything, outside the program is pretty good and healthy. The structure was there. They hadn't had much success on the field. Pretty much was coming off. I think every kid in our program, if I'm not mistaken, had never had a winning season in high school. They were coming off 3 straight losing seasons, and we wanted to bring an instant winner, and just turn it into a consistent winning program. Obviously everything's not all about winning and losing, but you know how it is. Winning's fun, losing sucks. Nobody likes it when you're losing. I always got a saying, the fun is in the winning. So we wanted to win. I felt like when I got there, just hearing from, I'd sit down with kids. Hey, tell me about this. Tell me about that. Talk to parents. Tell me about this, tell me about that. Because I didn't know a ton about Bearden. Even though I lived in Knoxville my whole life, I didn't know a ton about Bearden. Tell me the good and bad. And they go, well, what do we got to fix here? And so morale was really low. They felt like they wanted to win. The kids I kept hearing, I'd interview the upcoming seniors, right, because they're the oldest kids. They've been through the most. And the consistent message I was getting is, Coach, we want to win and we want to get recruited. We feel like not many colleges come by here, and we want to win. I said, well, we can try to fix that. I remember my first off season there. December and January is a big college time. College coaches are on the road, right? And I'll never forget it. In December and January, we had one college coach, Division III, come by the school. My first time there. I'd obviously just got hired, but we had one coach come by. And my last year there, which was just 3 years later, we had 31 come by, 31 Division I-A programs come by just in the 3 short time. And then all leading up in between the trenches, there was more and more. But we the things that I was told the kids wanted, we made sure that they had it.
Right. biggest lesson learned, because I think it's everyone in Knoxville knows Josh Jones is going to be running another program in this town at some point. I don't think that's a big secret, right? But once again, I get asked the most questions about Josh Jones around here at anything, period, when it comes to football. So not talking about jobs you want currently or jobs you're after, unless you want to talk about that. But in general, biggest lesson learned going into opportunity number 2.
Yeah, I worked at Beard for 39 months, 3 seasons. Learned a tremendous amount of things. Going to be able to take those things to wherever my next place is, and apply those lessons learned. Get basically a reinvented, a much better version of Josh Jones. Right. I feel like when I went to Bearden, I was a ball coach, I would say. I feel like now, I've seen how, I'm a ball coach and a young leader of men.
Right.
So I think that would be the biggest thing. I've learned you got to delegate. You can't do everything. You used to get on to me. You're like, why are you responsible for giving out the game day tickets or whatever? What was it? The comp tickets? Yeah. Like, why are you doing that? It's just because, again, I just rather do it myself as opposed to trying to put that off on somebody. So you live and learn, delegate more, among other things. But yeah, those are definitely some things that I learned, and how to manage. The staff is still part of the team. You got to manage men. How to lead those guys, coach the coaches, as they say. Do a much better job of that, and just so many more things I've learned along the way that I think I'll be a 10 times better coach and a program and a leader of men, young men, when I get another chance.
I love it, man. And that's the thing. I don't care what you're doing in life. You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, right.
If you've never done it, and it's like, if Alicia Smith ever gets tired of me, the next one's going to get a pretty good guy. Actually, there's not going to be a next one because I have zero interest in there being a next one. But Alicia Smith gets to be there the entire development for Lee Smith as a man and husband, and leader and father. So she got the crappy version of me. Now she gets the good version of me. Yeah. And that's just not the way football works. Typically, the good version comes at stop 2 or 3, just because everybody gets fired eventually. Yep. The George Quarles and David Meskis, and there's a few in town, and Nick Sabans and Bill Belichick's. But Bill Belichick guys, butt fired. Yeah. So, I view it a lot like my marriage. Like, my wife has had 10 different versions of leaders being married to me. Yep. And the goal is to just get better in each new phase. And unfortunately, in the game of football, sometimes that's in a new place. Yep. And I'm excited for you, man, because, like I said, I know my number one thing when I get asked about you is you don't have to love Josh Jones. But number one, you never met him. Yeah. Right. Number one, you've never met him. Number one. Number two, the biggest misconception on Josh Jones is that he doesn't love these kids. Yep. Period. And that's something that I try to shout from the rooftops to anybody that comes in. I'm like, man, Josh isn't perfect. I'm not perfect. If I coach your son's high school football team next year, you'll hate me half the time. Yeah. These parents are never going to be happy. Yeah. Right. Unless their kid scores 10 touchdowns a year. Yeah. Right. So none of us are perfect, and there's 50 kids, 100 kids, 120 kids, and it's like it's impossible to please everybody. But every leader and every head coach has their strengths, and they have their things that they need to delegate. And I agree. The Josh Jones delegation was, I'll do it myself. Yeah. So not anymore, though. Yeah, that's right. Live and learn. Live and learn. Same thing around here. Yeah. Bro, poor Rich Burnett working with me the first year. I don't know why he didn't quit. Yeah. And now Rich gets a boss that knows how to lead better, knows how to love people better, knows how to hold people accountable the right way instead of an aggressive way or being, I choose violence. Yeah. Violence wins in my life for a long time. That doesn't win in the world with Rich, who just wants to support kids. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's cool how I view me early at Triple F, kind of like you at Bearden, and then we both just naturally nobody can fire me from here. So my staff just hopefully gets, except for Timo. I always teach Timo all that crap. Timo, what's your thoughts on life? We got to give you your one moment. Just give us one thought on life. Like, what's life about?
Life in general, or
in general?
John, I feel like when you were talking about how you were thinking about going into the decision from going from middle school to high school, and how like that decision came just out of the blue, like you didn't know it was coming, or you didn't like just write the pros and cons. It just came to you one night. I feel like that's, in truth, for a lot of stuff in life, about how some certain decisions just have this different level to it, where it's not from you, it's from a different spiritual place that we can't really, you can't write it down or figure it out just through your brain alone. It's it just comes to you.
So maybe the lesson is patience.
Just listen.
If you would have made a rash decision the next day, it might not have been the one God truly wanted for you.
Right. Correct.
But patience of, all right, I'm wrestling with this. I don't know what to do, so I'm not going to make it a decision until God shows me. I'm going to submit and let God make this decision instead of making it myself. Wow, Timo.
Sometimes, like when when you were younger, like you would like
The-
fight. Whoa, let me finish. When you like fight with your brothers and stuff, like and there's some parents just like let them fight, and eventually resolve it. Sometimes that's how it is. Just gotta let the no and the yes just kind of tussle it out a little bit, and then the answer will come out of it.
Like that, Timo. Go America.
Yeah.
But yeah, so final thing, I would like to talk about two things.
Yep.
Number one, we go up to New York, had an awesome time with some NFL head coaches and coordinators. I never knew, we've known each other a long time, I never knew that you were a basketball guy till 18, and your dad said, it's kind of like show God your plans and then hand him the eraser.
Yeah.
It was like, tell your dad your plans, then hand him the eraser.
Right.
So, but when did it really shift for your obsession? Because it's an obsession.
Oh, yeah.
It's a sickness.
Yeah.
Like you are a sick man.
Whack job when it comes to.
When was your obsession for the foot? When did that start? Was it immediate or? Because you can only do so much in youth football,
Yeah,
right? Like
right,
there's limitations,
right,
which I think that might have had a little bit to do with your shift. Maybe
Yeah.
is like
That's a good question because I used to get on my dad's nerves because I would go to his practices when I was a kid. He was coaching. He always coached 8-year-olds. He loved coaching young kids. He didn't coach middle school. He wanted 8-year-olds, and he would make them as mean as they could possibly make them. And it's always funny. But at 12, at 9, 10, 11, would go to his practices, and I would always ask him, why are you doing that? And I know I'd get on his nerves. I mean, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? It was constant. And so I was always very inquisitive, growing up, and obviously start coaching, and I didn't have nothing to go on, so I had to learn, and I don't want to fail at anything, so I started going to clinics at 19, 20, 21 years old. I'm going to college football clinics as a youth football coach. So they are talking as foreign as you could imagine. You're talking to a guy at 20 didn't even know where the A gap was, and they start talking about 4 eyes and deucing to the backer and things like that. And I'm just like combination routes, and I'm like huh. What's that? But I'm in a clinic of 300 people, and I'm not going to stand up and say,
Right.
Tell me what that is. So you get a little bit each time, right? You learn a little bit more. So I've always been obsessed. So every offseason, as a middle school coach, when I coached 8th grade ball during those 15 years, every offseason I would pick a position to try to master. Like 1 year it might be DBs, 1 year it might be D-line, O-line, whatever. And I did that for 2 reasons. One, because I'm a whack job. I want to learn.
junkie. Yeah.
2, well, when you got, volunteer coaches, sometimes their job or their family or their daughter or their son comes prevalent. Hey, coach, I ain't going to be able to make it to practice tonight. Well, crap, I ain't got a linebacker coach tonight. So I did it for those reasons, so I could be the guy when whoever called, and I knew what I was doing. You know what I mean? So I would take a position every offseason and just study the entire offseason. So I would go nuts on, trying to figure out how to coach DBs, coach linebackers, coach receivers, coach this, coach that. And then I'm a big networker. I don't shy away from hey man, tell me how what's your favorite pass concept on 3rd down?
Yeah.
What's your favorite cover 2 beater? Hey, when do you like to bring exotic pressures? I don't have too much ego to go ask a guy that.
Oh, I've watched you. You'll ask anything, man. Yeah.
And so I just, as I got more information, I wanted more. And I want more, and still starving for it to this day. I want to be a better coach tomorrow than I was today. And I felt like every year as a coach, I grew a ton because all off season I'd spend trying to get better. And I make a joke, the COVID time, that little 6-8 weeks that the world shut down for a little bit. Everybody got figured out what Zoom was and all these different things. And I was like on the forefront. I was, DMing guys that would, in a million years, would never DM me back. But because they had nothing to do, they couldn't go to work. They were like, yeah, sure, I'll hop on Zoom with you. I'm Zooming with NFL coaches, college coaches, one-on-one. So I'm getting like full, autonomy, to ask them anything I want, and they're going to answer it. They're not going to give you I call it clinic talk.
Right.
They're not going to give you the real answer. And, just during that little 6 or 8 weeks period, I feel like I went from, a F- coach to a C- coach, because I maximized. My wife's like, you're in that office all day long, all day. What are you doing? And I'm just, obsessed with ball.
I love it. I love it. Well, now let's talk about like Battle on Rocky Top and Future Stars. Because not only did you build the most successful youth middle school program this town's probably ever seen. Is that fair? I would say.
Yep.
Haven't been here my whole life. My dad played Fulton youth growing up, so I grew up over there at the Boys and Girls Club. My dad wanted to try to put me in a good school, but when it was sports time, I was going with the dudes.
Yeah.
That were raised a little different.
Yep.
And that's just what he believed in. So I grew up over there. When it was time to play ball, I didn't go to school over there. But best youth football guy. But now all of a sudden we got some entrepreneurial, build a pretty cool deal. How many teams did you have last week? 300 and something?
Yeah, we had 343 teams. It's our 20th year.
How did that even start?
Crazy story. Crazy story. So I've got a career job, a really good job, better than I should have ever gotten. I'm working at Bell South. They just got bought out by AT&T. Selling Yellow Page advertising, making a good living, and all of a sudden we have some management change and so forth. We had a pretty lax management staff. They, I guess, maybe kicked them to the curb. I don't know. Who knows? Reassigned them, as they call it. Bring in a little more tougher deal. Looking, we thought it was like, oh man, this is frustrating. This is crap. Looking back, it was not. I mean, we were just spoiled, and we had I think like a sales staff of like 80 people, and everybody's just complaining, and more turnover than ever. I've been there 9 years, and more turnover than I wasn't selling in 9 years. I only worked my way into sales year 7, 8, 9, but more turnover than we've ever had. You see some of the guys you've been there with for the 9 years, like, man, this guy's been there 20 years. He's leaving. Holy cow, this must be a bad place to work now, But I'm hanging in there, and got the idea of, I was taking my Fulton team. We were traveling to Atlanta every year. We traveled to Daytona Beach. We traveled to Mobile, Alabama. We traveled to Louisville, Kentucky, because for us it never was about winning at John Tarleton. We wanted to develop kids. Well, how you develop them? You play better competition, equal or better competition. So we weren't trying to schedule wins. So we're going and traveling, doing all this. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start a tournament for my football team, and we'll
bring them to us.
One less weekend, we got to raise a whole bunch of money to go play.
And I'm sure it's really easy to raise money in certain parts of town.
Yeah, exactly. We were scraping nickels by. You know what I mean? I mean, I could just tell so many sad stories. We're going. I'll tell a fast one. We took 24 players in 2004. We took 24 players to Daytona Beach. We're going to be there 5 days. Left out on a Wednesday. We were going to come home on Sunday. We're going to play in what's called at that time the Youth National Championship. All right, there's teams there from all over the country. We're fired up. We're obviously the only team from Knoxville going. Nobody from Knoxville hadn't been there in forever. So I asked, you're on a 12-hour bus ride with kids, and you're like, all right, raise your hand if you've been to Florida before. And I think like 2 or 3 kids raised their hand. All right, put your hands down. Raise your hands if you've been to a beach before. A few more raised their hand, but come to it. The final, what we figured out was 15 of our 24 players that we took, they're in 8th grade, they're all 13, 14 years old, had never been to a beach. And I was just like, you know what, whether we win or lose, this is awesome. This is what it's about.
It's crazy.
And, nowadays, I mean, to an average kid, they go to the beach 3 times a year.
Right.
These kids, 15 of those kids had never been in their lifetime. And so that was huge, and it let me know, like I used to break my neck. I'd get off work. rush home, change because I had to dress up. I was in sales. I had to dress my Sunday best every day. Get off work, rush home, change clothes. Cause get off around 4:30, 5 o'clock. Change clothes. Depending on what year it was, would you take 2 kids to practice or 4 kids to practice? Make my little bus route. We used to joke and call it. Go pick up kids, get to the field just on time. And that was rinse and repeat for almost 15 years, and wouldn't trade it for a second. Loved it.
It's awesome, man.
Yep.
Well, there it is.
And then Battle Rocky Top. So start the tournament. Tell my wife, trust me. She's looking at me, with 5 eyeballs.
Did you keep your job at this point?
No.
Okay.
I literally quit the job cold turkey, and I told her, trust me, I'll make it work. So we start the Battle on Rocky Top, 2006, and she's obviously a big part of it. I'm the one recruiting all the teams because I've been the networker. I've been to all these tournaments, and I've got all these contacts, and so I'm calling them. And, we always kept a good name. When we traveled, we always kept a good – we didn't travel and fight. We didn't travel and cheat. We won with class, lost with class, all those things. So we had a good reputation. And because of that, teams would try, oh, yeah, if Josh is putting on a tournament, this is going to be awesome. We're going to go because he'll do it right. And had 80 teams our first year, which is unheard of. Most people have 8 their first year. We had 80 teams from 12 states in year number 1. And it just took off. And within the 3rd year, it was the biggest tournament. In number of teams participating, it was the biggest tournament in the United States. And, the last probably 10,
right
12
here in Knoxville,
years,
Tennessee.
Yep. The last 10 or 12 years, we've been over 300 teams. Yep.
It's awesome.
Right here in Knoxville, Tennessee. It's made football better in our area. I mean, it really has. That's another reason. Some of the people get jealous and say this and say that, but it makes adversity is everything. Life and football go hand in hand, right? And when you win 50-0 every day, what are you gaining? What are you learning? That's fun. Don't get me wrong, winning's fun, but you need some adversity. So it was good for the teams that are used to, the 8-year-old team in town that's beating everybody by 30 points. It was good for them to get smacked by a team from Georgia or Ohio or Kansas or wherever, and it's made football better. And I'm very proud of that. That we was able to do that.
As you should be. And then future stars.
Yep.
Every kid in town and every parent that walks in here when they make one of those teams, it's like their kid went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. So I can't take all the credit. 2009, Rico Hughes. He's like a brother from another mother. He lives in Louisville, Kentucky. I travel. I met Rico in 2005. We traveled. He was running a little small youth football tournament up there called the River City Classic, and we were always searching good competition to go play. So meet Rico in 2005.
Let's go.
Meet Rico in 2005. He, we stay in constant. He calls me in 2009, winter. He said, "Man, I got a good idea. Just hear me out." He's one of them guys that always got an idea.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh God, go for it. Shoot." Man,
some people are dreamers, some people are doers.
Yep, he's a little both.
And when you put a dreamer with a doer, cool things happen. It sounds like it's about what I'm about to hear.
100%. So he calls me, and I am not interested. He's like, "Man, I got this idea. We can do the Kentucky versus Tennessee Future Stars. I'll handle the Kentucky side. You do the Tennessee side. We'll do tryouts. We'll stay on it. If they make the team, we'll stay on a college campus, try to play the game at either a high school or a college campus." I'm like, "Man, this sounds good. Sounds like a lot of work to me. I already got enough going on with Battle on Rocky Top, coaching football. But here's what I'll do. This is my promise to him. I'll do one tryout in Knoxville, Tennessee. And I'm not going to go across the state and do all that. I'm just going to do Knoxville, Tennessee. If it hits, it hits. If it don't, then we tried, right? 300 kids. Kids came from Memphis. Blew me away. And obviously, Future Star started in 2010. It was spring 2010 was our first year. And here we are. I think we just finished our 16th year, our 15th year, whatever it was. And it's, it's live and well. Rico does a phenomenal job up there. I've got a great team here. I've had to delegate a lot more of that since now I'm coaching high school. Don't have as much time. Yep. So I've got a lot of guys that help me with Future Stars. I don't do near as much of it as I used to, but my name's still, I guess, there, you could call it. But it's a blast. It's been good. You get to see the kids. It's been cool for me because XYZ County, maybe they haven't been great, but I see what crop of 8th graders they've got coming, and I'm like, I'm gonna follow these guys. These guys are gonna be good these next couple of years,
Yeah.
and they'll go win a state championship. And nobody's like, man, where'd them kids come? You know, and I knew it before anybody else because I knew they had the 5 studs who tried out for future stars, and went to XYZ County High School, and they were going to XYZ County High School, and so it's been cool. College coaches have taken notice of that. They'll call me, who's the next up and comers, and stuff. So it's been a good networking tool as well.
That's awesome. And in this area of football, we're not in Atlanta, we're not in Ohio, we're not in Florida. Yep. You get a slew of 4, 5, 8th graders, it changes your football program for years to come.
Oh, absolutely.
4 or 5 dudes. So, well, that's awesome. Well, buddy, I love you.
Yep, love you, dog.
Appreciate you for everything. You've been good to me, supported this business, supported this Triple F journey. Have been obsessed with anything I could possibly serve you with on the football side. We've had some fun memories together.
Absolutely.
Once again, to all the people out there that ask me about Josh Jones, they can just watch this.
Yep, absolutely.
And thank you, Timo. Hut. All right, buddy.
Love it.